But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
We do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. We do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family and explorers of consciousness. I am the void.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We're live on the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting. It's Friday night, the 29th, and I want to give a big, warm shout out to Gigi. Hell of a show, brother. Also to Candace for putting me in her book. Candy Sanderson. She put me in her book about The Reluctant Messenger. So that book just came out today. Y'all go check it out. Tonight our guest, Jeff Harman. He's here with us. I'm going to ask him about, like, how long is this stuff going to last? I want to know. Are we going to be in this dark tunnel of COVID forever? Are the transits going to loosen up? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Jeff Harman, astrologer, is here with us. He's been on the show quite a bit as a frequent co-host, just like a few of our other people that come on the broadcast, like Mary and so on. I want you guys to go check out the Patreon, too. I'm going to try to load up, I'm talking about just a mass quantity of content this weekend of behind-the-scenes stuff, after-show stuff, some of the Outside the Shack journal. I'm going to try to load that up, too. Just in case you have you get bored this weekend. There's going to be a ton of stuff in there as well. I want to thank our sponsors, our network sponsors at GetTheT.com. Ronnie McMullen is doing a fantastic job also with his show Deep Waters Radio, which we do air here on the Fringe FM, as well as Metaphorical Archaeology. Barbara Charlton is doing big and wonderful things. If you need that session for free, pro bono, and you can get that through the Fringe FM if you've had a paranormal experience that's caused you any trauma or post-traumatic stress, you can give her a call at 214-995-3754. You can also go check them out on Facebook, too. Just look at Metaphorical Archaeology. Look up that and check out UFO Seekers. If you're into ufology, ufoseekers.com. Backed and supported by the Fringe FM. Crazy day today. I'll probably ask Jeff about that, too. We got riots. We got people going nuts. We got Trump coming out saying, damn the man and damn all of your censoring and all that stuff. We're going to let these people say what they want to. And then a rocket blows up on the platform of SpaceX. Just, I bet you Jeff's got something to say about all this, right? And if you don't know who Jeff Harman is, let me tell you real quick. He's a second-generation astrologer. He's available for all your personal and business needs. He's got 45 years of experience in astrology. He's a master of classical, Vedic, and Kabbalistic astrology. He also draws from many other traditions of spiritual knowledge. for clearing people and property of unwanted energies, and he is a consultant for paranormal investigations. He specializes in electional astrology, the art of selecting auspicious times to sign contracts, release product, travel, and schedule weddings, surgery, and other important events. He's also worked in many aspects of the entertainment industry. He's based out of Los Angeles, California, and he's available worldwide by phone and internet conferencing. Go to the website, jeffharman.com. Jeff, what's up, man? It's good to have you back.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me back.
What is going on? When are we going to get done with this, dude? What's all the stuff happening?
It's great you asked that. I got to say, you could probably just about set your watch to the astrology on this one. Today was the official day. All the restaurants and businesses in California opened up, and I hear New York's just about ready to do the same thing very shortly. The Kalasarpa yoga that we've been in ever since this whole pandemic, or you could say, well, some people call it a scamdemic, but I'll say pandemic, and that it all broke loose right when the astrology showed it. And that was the end of February, beginning of March. That's when this whole thing cut loose. And what's interesting is Mercury just broke that last night, and we're starting to see everyone's get back to work. It might not be, full blown, but it's starting to move back into place. Why it's so crazy, and this, I think I was on your show and mentioned this not too long ago, that as this breaks, now we've got the other insanity. See, Venus is retrograde right now, and it's what we call an inferior conjunction. It's going retrograde in between the sun and the earth, and that's the strongest one. That was always known as Lucifer falling, and the Mayans called it the Quetzalcoatl myth, where and this is exactly what happens. I remember saying this, it was either on your show or another one, that this is when strange accidents happen, crazy outbreaks happen. Look at the riots, that murder, which rocket today blowing up at the pad. Yeah, well, at least they arrested the guy today.
Yeah. Well,
they should have. I mean, he stood on the guy's throat for an insane amount of time, which is really wrong. But I also don't think it's right that people are doing what they're doing. This is insane. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. I haven't looked into it, but I've heard that some places we've heard there were guys, with masks on with little swirly things in their ear, kind of like, communicating. So some of this could have been instigated too. So not to sound conspiratorial, but I haven't looked into that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I would say that. So, some people say these were professionals brought in to ignite the energy, and then of course everybody really gets rioting. So we'll see what
aren't you tired of it though? I mean, like, I get it, right? The point of astrology is understanding what's coming, but I got to tell you, man, I'm sick of the worry and the fear, and then the chaos that makes more worry and more fear. It's like, just a little peace, a little vacation.
Oh yeah.
I mean, is that coming at all, or are we just doomed, man?
Well, it's ebbs and flows. It's cycles. We're just in an intense cycle right now. I've been saying for 10, 15 years, this would be the time it would get pretty nuts. Things always happen, not to make light of anything, but, look at the Rodney King incident, look at, the Challenger space shuttle and Discovery. I mean, things happen, but they tend to happen more when Venus is retrograde in inferior conjunctions. And I don't think we're done. I think we're going to see more strange events. I think it's right on June 3rd. I'll double check here for you. But yeah, I think it's Venus goes into the eye of the sun right on the 3rd of June. It's late on the 2nd, early 3rd. And what that means in plain English is things then start to back off a little bit. Then we should get a little more peace. The problem is this summer, we've also got Mars about ready to go retrograde. So we got almost every planet in the sky going to be retrograde pretty soon. We got Mercury's about to go retrograde. That's coming right up. That always brings crazy stuff. Mercury will actually go retrograde right on June 17th. Very close to when Venus starts getting ready to go retrograde. Go direct. On June 24th, Venus will actually go direct. Then right after that, we got Mars going retrograde. So this is going to be, it's an election year. We got to expect that it's going to be pretty crazy. But I think it's going to be crazier than most election years. And I've always said when Saturn-Pluto conjunctions happen, World War I broke out within weeks of that happening. Now, thank God we didn't get anything like that. But what we did get is an unprecedented time with this pandemic. Never has the whole world been shut down. Never. So, not like this.
So what is your advice? Stay in the house until it blows over, or what?
Well, I don't want to give anybody any advice in terms of medical advice or anything else like that. But I would say that we're going to see this start to go back to normal. I don't know that we'll ever be 100% normal. This is going to leave an indelible effect on the world. But I would say that they're predicting a second wave. I'm not so sure that's going to happen. The reason why in Vedic astrology, the moon's north and south nodes were in really toxic, malefic mansions. They're known as Ardra and Mula. The north node was in Ardra and the south node it's still in Mula. The north node left Ardra right at the end of April. And that's when we began to see a lot of people kind of breaking the, stay-at-home order. A lot of people were going out and still businesses weren't up and running. And then literally the last few days late on the 27th, which was 2 days ago, and of course yesterday, is when this energy is really starting to break. But why I don't think we're going to see a resurgence is because the toxic lunar mansion of Mula actually ends September 20th. So I don't think it's going to come back. I really don't. I think if we get a second wave, it's going to be a really small one.
It'd be like the stock market does when it comes and tests it a little bit and then goes away, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe something on that analogy. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, that's good news. It's just these transits are super heavy, man. There's been I would say a lot of change going on in a lot of people's lives. I get messages all day, man, about people's careers.
It's the Saturn-Pluto conjunction.
God, relationships, families, everything, man. And it's I don't know, I'm going through it too. So I don't know what I can tell you guys, but just hang in there. That's all I tell them,
Exactly right. That's what I would say too. I would say things are going to start looking better. Already all the restaurants in Los Angeles just opened today. Ventura County actually opened up right when the moon's north node left Arudra, which was the end of April or beginning of May. It was already opening up. And Los Angeles County now starting to open up. I'm hearing New York's about ready to go back online, not maybe completely, but it's going to start to partially open up. So that's good news.
This is one of those times when you really wish you would have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? I knew I should have saved up an emergency account and savings for something, And
I also tell you, this is a time people can make money too, because the markets will come back. They're going to come back. And I think as we get into the latter part of this year and into next, it's going to be a lot better.
Yeah. I think I've been having some, does astrology influence your dreams too? Because I've been having some wild dreams here lately, man. Chaos.
With the Mercury crossing the north node, yes. I've been noticing it's been really intense for me too, especially the last few days. Notice that? The last few days especially.
Yes.
That's
last
because
night,
Mercury, it just crossed the north node. That's why. And the north node is where eclipses happen. It's a very karmic energy. You'll get a lot of recall from past things, or you'll start remembering people that you haven't remembered in a long time. Yeah, it's really powerful.
Yeah, I think it's hey, just hang in there. That's the way I feel about it too. I feel like I've been through this before. Honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a sense of deja vu or something like that, but I feel like we get these scares every now and then. This one's just a little deeper, right? You had 2012 and then this thing. This thing is not 2012, but what I'm kind of thinking about is the eclipses. What's going to happen during do those really influence stuff the way people talk about, or do you even look at that?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I think eclipses are very, very powerful. And we've got one coming right up. We get eclipses every year. The next one that's actually going to become is what we call an annular eclipse. That's actually going to be on the full moon. It's called an applause. We have one on June 5th on the full moon, and then we've got a new moon one on June 20th. Yeah, in fact, I've been tracking these for years. The Chaldeans were masters at that. They knew that eclipses started at the North and South Pole, and then they serpentine around the Earth. Some of them last up to 1,500 to 2,000 years. And each one comes from a series and family of eclipses. Yeah, eclipses leave an indelible effect. This summer solstice, which happens coming right up here on the 21st of... the solstices and equinoctial points in ancient astrology were always the reference. And when I look at the summer solstice here, which is actually technically on June 20th, I don't like it because it's happening very close to a new moon, and it's happening right on moon square Mars. So is it the end of the world? No, but I think we're going to see a year right now with unprecedented political upheavals as we get farther into summer. I think we're going to see things come out that we've never seen before. There's clearly a war going on right now, and I think it's a different kind of war. Not to sound conspiratorial, but I think there was a lot more suppression than should have been with that. And everybody I talk to says the same thing in the medical profession with this release of the COVID over there in China. In other words, when it escaped out of that lab, and everyone's pretty certain it came out of the lab. That's what most professionals speculate that I hear from. And the other thing I've heard too is, it's very mysterious why, many people who are doctors are telling me and people in the medical profession that, hey, we get $3,000 if we mark down that it was flu. We get, I think it's like 18,000 if they say it's COVID, and they get 38,000 if they put them on a ventilator and they die. So, there's definitely some strange stuff going on behind the scenes with all this. And, again, this is not me talking. I'm literally hearing this out of doctors and healthcare professionals that are in the trenches, and they can't get any voice. They get pulled right off of YouTube the minute they say anything like that. They're right off the YouTube.
Well, do you think Trump, like when he came out and was talking about the censorship thing, I hope that goes. I hope that stays. Like he's trying to keep all this from happening.
We're moving into an Orwellian society par excellence here, and technology certainly paves the way for it. And, there's a lot of people are afraid that, we're going to have something like this in the future. And then literally we are going to be required mandatory vaccinations and your microchips free. And, people are very worried about that. And I don't think that's going to happen this time. I really don't. Trump has already said that he's not going to force people to take it. He made an innuendo to that effect. He said, well, not everyone's going to want to take it. And I don't think he would sign that into law. But from everything I'm getting, because I did get asked questions about that interrogation as I looked at the astrology, and it leans towards no, we're not going to be forced to take a vaccination on this COVID thing. I think it's going to dissipate. I really do. I think it's the numbers clearly from everyone I've spoken to are not like they projected. It's nowhere near as bad as they said it was. Not to minimize it. A lot of people they died, and certainly that's not good. But a lot of people died from the flu too. So it's interesting to hear the numbers and what really happened on this. And again, I'm hearing this from people who really know. They're the hard numbers. These are actually doctors saying, listen, it's not like they're saying it is. And there's a lot of question as to why some of these governors sent people into nursing homes. So this is what happens on Saturn-Pluto conjunctions. We feel the clash between fascism and freedom, and the world changes on these every time it happens. This happens about every 35 to 40 years, about 38 years on average. And the world changes every time. 9/11 happened on the opposition. The banks crashed on the square in 2008. And now we just had the conjunction, and look at what it did. I mean, I was talking to shamans in the jungle. They couldn't get shuttles down the Amazon River. This is in the middle of the jungle. How would you think that would even get shut down? But it did. I'm talking to people in India, Bhutan, Australia, all over the place. It's affected everywhere. It's really bizarre. Europe, very heavily. In fact, certain places like Belgium, I'm here. You can't travel. You can't go across state lines or borders or country lines. It's really pretty damn severe. We had it easier than some places, from what I hear.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of weird energy going on. I can tell you that for sure, because I don't like
the Kabbalistic yoga.
Man, I don't like it, because I have this kind of mentality, like when things get edgy or too like fear-like I'm not the type that's going to bungle in a hole and stay there, So I get a little, it could be the Aries in me a little bit, but I get a little pushy. I don't like being fear-mongered. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm kind of learning how to balance that out a little bit as well, because there's enough people. There's always somebody doing something behind the scenes, doing something, saying something, trying to do something that's not really happening or whatever. I mean, I've grown quite used to that on a personal level as well as in a societal level. Like none of us trust the government now. I can tell you that. Like they're really blowing it with us, and Trump is getting brownie points.
Yeah.
Don't you think he's getting brownie points by speaking out about?
Well, I do. I think. Yeah, I do. I think he stood back and let everyone kind of show their true colors in certain places. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really a good plan. Actually, just let the sharks swim around and just kind of see what they do. I get it. So
yeah.
You're saying we only got a few more months. There might be it might show its face again. That's what a lot of people are worried about, is the winter time. I mean, when the winter hits, the flu season hits, is this going to be an even bigger thing? Is it ever going to change?
Yeah. Well, the Kabbalistic yoga does come back right at the end of this year. Now, just for anybody listening, what a Kabbalistic yoga is, it's a strange term in Vedic astrology. That means all the planets are in between the moon's north and south node. That is where eclipses happen. See, the eclipses are simply where the sun and the moon and the earth's orbital pattern align. That's why we get an occultation of the sun or an occultation of the moon on a new or full moon. And it does happen again. And when does it happen? Right at the end of the year. It actually kicks in technically right at the end of December. Venus actually crosses the south node right around December 31st, and then the moon follows behind it. And I'm actually plotting it again right now just to make sure I'm saying right. So we do get that reoccurrence, and that will come back. It does break, though, right around, I think it is in March. Here, I'm tracking it right now just to make sure I'm being right. I'm modeling this on the computer as we speak. Yeah, Mars crosses it right about the 28th of March. So we could get a little resurgence, but the flu season is always around that time, So we could get a little resurgence, but here's the difference. The toxic lunar mansions that the nodes were in this year are not going to be happening next year. So yes, we have the strangeness of the Kabbalistic yoga, and they do happen quite frequently, not a lot, but they happen throughout history. Every time they do, strange occurrences happen. I hope we don't see any conflicts over in the South Pacific. China's been getting very aggressive with Taiwan. This thing with Iran, again, I've been saying the Middle East seems to be, again, the flare-up over there. And if there's any noise to move anything on the Temple Mount where the current, Dome of the Rock is, there could be trouble. And I really hope we don't see anything like that. The United States chart, the chart of the U.S. Declaration of Independence, which different astrologers use different charts. I like the Sibley. I've been finding it's pretty accurate. What is interesting about that is for the first time in literally the existence of this country, we have a Pluto return that's coming in on the United States, and that happens 3 times in 2022. But we also have the something called Sati going on for the United States, which means Saturn is transiting the moon for 7.5 years. These are very transformative times. They only happen once about every 30 years, 28 years, something like that, 28 and a half. And the biggest thing that I saw was next year, Pluto by primary direction, and for anybody who's not familiar with those terms, primary directions are what we call, they move 1 degree per year. So the first time ever in the history of the United States, Pluto is crossing its midheaven. And people might say, well, what does that mean? Well, that means some real power plays with authority against, you could say, the people, or certainly power plays that are happening in the world. No question about that. It's all Pluto. They can demote it all they want from being a planet. I know a lot of people said, oh, well, it's not a planet anymore. Well, my only thing I can tell you is, look at 9/11, look at the bank crashes, look at, so many events throughout history. It really does show up. And the biggest thing too, is I've been mentioning on your show many times, is we have the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction on the winter solstice of this year, 2020. And now that happens in a tropical zodiac for the siderealist, which I'm one. I certainly am a Vedic astrologer, but I look at them both because I find they're both accurate. And there's dispute among astrologers as to exactly the exact day. It'll happen in a tropical zodiac exactly on the winter solstice. In a sidereal zodiac, it'll be a couple of days later, about the 22nd or 23rd, late on the 22nd. But nonetheless, this is unprecedented because this hasn't happened like this in a new, what we call triplicity, which is an air sign, for 240 years. And I think this ushers in a high-tech revolution. And we've been hearing on the internet, there's all kinds of rumbling about new energy coming in and things coming out that, this Nasara, I don't know if you've heard of that, but there's all kinds of things on the horizon. Tesla, Trump's uncle, John Trump, had actually confiscated all the documents of Nikola Tesla when he died in the New York hotel. And I think Tesla discovered not only free energy, but he probably, from what I've heard, discovered the secrets between the dielectric you could say isolation between the positive, negative, and neutral forces in atoms. And that may be how he was coming up with neutral energy machines. People have referred to this sometimes in cold fusion and other, perpetual energy machines. And I think this stuff has been around. I think they've got it perfected. I think they've had it perfected. The problem is you'd crash the world economic structures if you take oil out of the equation. And, we're pretty much running all petrochemical machines right now. But I think we're going to see this change. I think this next decade is going to usher in things that we've never expected before. I actually am really positive about it. I think we're going to see breakthroughs in technologies like we've never seen. And the Saturn-Jupiter, for some reason, consciously kind of says to maybe the lower conscious mind, it's okay now. Now you can advance. It's pretty wild how this stuff happens.
Well, that's good, right? See, so not everything is all hairy, scary all the time, but it's just a phase. It's just a phase, right? So,
it's ebbs and flows. It's like the ocean. You have waves. It comes in and it goes out, and it comes in and it goes out. It's how it always goes. I don't think the world's going to end for a long, long time. Fantastic.
Well, we're up against our first break here. We're not going to open up the phones just yet. We might do that at the second part of the show. Tonight, we're here with Jeff Harman. The website is jeffharman.com. We'll be right back right after this. Stay with us.
Please listen. Now is not the time to fear. When your immune system is strong, shields up. You have very little worries. If your immune system is compromised, you're susceptible to all viruses. I say shields up and no fear. Try Heart Love from GetTheTea.com. Heart Love has a special ingredient called allicin. It comes from the healing part of the garlic plant. No garlic breath, no garlic leaking out your pores, just pure immune-building ingredients that gets your shields up. Heart Love is a unique blend of herbs that loves to build you up. Google garlic and know the benefits. One Heart Love pill is equal to 20 cloves of garlic. 20 cloves. Shields up. You've heard of our Life Change Cleansing Tea at GetTheTea.com. Now try Heart Love. And by the way, take your blood pressure and watch weekly what happens. So here's how to purchase. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com and build your shields. That's GetTheTea.com. Mention Ray in the coupon code and hit apply and receive free shipping.
All right, man, this is Crow 777, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Right, me old Chinas. I know it's an ad break, but before you lot shoot off and make yourself a cup of Rosie Lee or whatever else it is you're going to sling down your Gregory Peck, you need to listen to me babble. If, like me, you found your way to Light in the Void via a downloadable podcast, you might want to take a butcher's at the Fringe FM Wind and Kite. You won't Adam and Eve how many other shows there are or what they rabbit on about. Ancient history, conspiracy, the consciousness, the esoteric, the occult, metaphysics, parapolitical, ufology, technology and spirituality, to name but a few. They got featured hosts like Ryan Gable, Jeremy Scott, Alex Exum, Tim Doyle, Cortana and Gigi, Susanna Ross, the Reverend John Polk, Michael Deacon and J.D. Lewis. You might find yourself listening to the thoughts and theories of the author of The Fish you just finished reading. Or you could pick up the dog and bone, call in and tell everyone your own beliefs or experiences. So do me a favour, before you put on the Ansel or crack open a bottle of vino or roll a joint, go to the Fringe FM and see what you're missing.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
From a cave in the depths of your mind, it's Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
Hey, I'm J.M. DeBoard, and when I want to talk about dreams, I look up my man Joe Root and his show, Lighting the Void.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. Tonight we're here with Jeff Harman. It's Friday night. It is open lines night, so we will open the lines up. But we are talking about the astrology. We're looking at all of it, Eastern, Western, Kabbalistic. What's going on with COVID? Jeff says he doesn't believe that this is going to stick around forever, but it does look looks like we're in choppy water right now. You know, and it's like I did want to talk to you about the spiritual side of this thing, because I can tell you, like, specifically the energies that I'm feeling right now. I get to a point like there is a balance of things when it comes to fear, but when it gets like too much fear or too much in any aspect, I would say my personal life or friends, family, just people trying to push fear. You know, even when it comes to like, you know, what if this happens, or what if it's going to be bad? My dad used to this crap to me all the time, right? I get extremely rebellious. Like, I go straight at it. Even when I was in high school, Jeff, people were like, oh, I heard so-and-so's talking crap, wants to fight you. I just go straight to him, be like, you ready? Are you really want to do this? Like, let's do it. Because I don't like it, and I'm trying to learn how to balance it. But you're saying that that's all in my chart, though, right? Saturn.
Well, you got Mars and Saturn in the ascendant. Yeah, you definitely would not be fearful. No doubt about that. But, I think, I actually think this is ending. This COVID thing is really going to start to end. I really do. The astrology, I do. Yeah, I think like clockwork, everything's opening back up. And I actually said this. It was either on your show or a couple other shows back right in, I think it was January, February.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was definitely on your show, where I said this is going to end by June. And I said, I'll see it breaking up by the end of May. Well, here we are. And Mercury just crossed the moon's north node, breaking what we call the Kala Sarpa Yoga, where all the planets are between Rahu and Ketu, or the moon's north and south node. And lo and behold, today, they came out with a big proclamation in Los Angeles. All the restaurants are starting to open up now. They're still doing social distancing. Most of the people that I've heard of and seen, they're not even in restaurants with masks. A lot are, but a lot aren't.
Right.
So, it's just the employees wearing it. And I know I ride around this place all the time on a motorcycle without a mask, and I'm as healthy as a horse. I'm doing good.
Are you wearing your helmet though, Jeff? You better wear your helmet.
I'm wearing my. I wish I didn't have to. Some states don't have a helmet law, but anyways, yeah, I wear my helmet. But yeah, I really think we're seeing this thing. We're seeing the tail end of it. I really think it's over, and it's going to dissipate. Again, like many doctors have said to me, they think a lot of cases were not COVID, that were flu, but got marked as COVID. And again, that's not me talking, that's them. And, they would know. They certainly would know. And boy, they couldn't get any press at all. And there was a couple of doctors that tried that here in Los Angeles. I think it was up in Bakersfield, and they got pulled immediately. And they couldn't get any airtime on most of the major networks. I think Tucker Carlson had them on, and that was it. And that was the only airtime they got. Facebook just yanked them. And
well,
I know. Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, yeah, the political side of stuff is getting pretty scary as far as the censorship goes too. And I'm glad. Yeah. I'm really glad that the president is speaking out about that. Look, I'm not. People get so polar when you say that. Oh, what are you, a Trump fan or something? Look, if somebody, even somebody I don't like, does something cool, I'm going to say, hey, man, that's cool. Keep that up, right? But what I'm more focused on is, and I wanted to talk to you about like the rising signs and stuff like that. What I'm more focused on, just like earlier, I said I used to be this like abrasive person when people tried to box me in or make me afraid, or just being around fear, right? Just period. Don't like it. Right. I can't stand it. But like as I get older, I feel like I'm maturing more. I'm really starting to understand the Saturn thing. I'm a lot more balanced, and I have Libra rising. And does that have anything to do with it? Like I feel like, okay, I'm starting to understand that.
Well, and the other thing is, Joe, you were in a Saturn dasha most of the years of your youth. You were in a 19-year Saturn dasha until you were 23 years old. Oh, yeah. When you were probably 16, 17, I mean, you could have ripped somebody's head off. You were in Saturn Mars right there. That's in your ascendant. Oh, yeah. You were a tough customer, man, in high school and in your early adulthood. But see, that started shifting at 23. Now you're in this Mercury dasha, and you're getting Ketu here, my friend, right at 40 years old. See, this is all based off the lunar mansions we were talking about. That the lunar mansions actually showed the COVID coming in. And this is, everyone has this. These are called what they call the Vimshatori dashas. They're timing. And everyone is in a certain placement. So you're going to hit a K2 period here, coming right up here.
I kind of feel
in 2023, 3 years.
Honestly, over things. Like even animals, like I'm a lot softer, man, than I used to be. And I feel like it's like, I feel like everybody's going through that though. Like there's
you've been in a great
spiritual
period of learning, though, ever since your mid-20s, man. You've been in a really great period of learning. I mean, things really shifted for you then.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. You're accurate about that. I just.
Well, the chart is, yeah.
Like, what I mean specifically, though, is like the community, the people that reach out to us at the Fringe FM, and like these people, man, they're afraid. They want to belong somewhere, but they also are afraid. And
times are changing.
Man, I used to just get mad about that. Like, why be afraid? Just do this and do that. But now it's like, I feel like I'm holding a cat all the time, you know, like I don't, you know what I mean? Or a flower or I want everybody to do what they want to do spiritually. And like, you know, like come into their own power and be the best of who they can be. But I'm not here to save the world, just the people that want to come and hang out in this community. And it's like, I don't want to save them either. I just want people to see what they're made of, man. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm optimistic. I really am. I think as we approach next year and the next several years, I think we're going to see technology really explode. And if people can keep the political scene to where at least we have people who aren't incarcerating us for what we think, and it doesn't become like Minority Report.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the more technically advanced the world gets, the more dangerous it gets, because the more we can be censored, tracked, watched, and literally everything we do. And that's inevitable, you know, to always be an element to be battled with as the future comes in. But on the flip side of the coin, I also see the counterbalancing forces that people are exposed to more now than ever before. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember, you know, when you wanted something, you know, expensive, you waited for the Encyclopedia Britannica guy to beat on the door, you know.
Yeah, those
and
were
then
expensive.
You bought a set. Yeah, those are expensive. Yeah. Now, I mean, good God, you can jump on the internet and get a video on how to fix anything under the sun. You can look up anything you want to look up. I mean, we have more access to information and data than anybody in the Alexandria Library had. And it's just going to keep coming. And I think, you know, I really believe this planet, you know what I think the Earth is, Joe? Do you ever take a rock tumbler and you take a bunch of jagged rocks, right? And you put all the rocks in the tumbler, and then you put some water in there, and you put a little bit of grit in there, and you put it on this tumbler, and you come back in about a week, and all the rocks are polished, right? All the jagged rocks are polished. That's what the Earth reminds me of. It's the soul cauldron. It's constantly incarnation after incarnation, and all of our lives, it's just really purifying and rectifying the spirit and the soul. And many of the ancient texts definitely allude to that. Texts I've been studying, I always liked the texts of Enoch. Enoch is believed to have been pre-Diluvian, pre-Moses. And he actually he didn't die. I think he lived to about 600 years old. There's different texts that postulate different times, but he was actually taken by God up to the top of the tree of life, and he was made Archangel Metatron. Why I mention that is because, you know, I always hear the world's ending and this doomsday stuff, and it never fully happens. I mean, my grandmother, who just passed away here about 8 years ago, she was 102 and she died, born in 1907. And she said, Jeff, she said, everybody thought the world was ending. When World War I broke out, they called it the Great War. She saw World War I, World War II, the Vietnam War. She saw, you know, the Iraq War. I mean, what a life. You know, she saw the world go
now,
from.
See, that's a person that's like, yeah, I've been here before, right? Like, we get through this, you know?
And she said people were jumping out of windows during the stock market crash in 29. And she said the Dust Bowl, everyone thought the world was ending. You know, I mean, there was dust everywhere. They said there was dust in the ships out in the Atlantic Ocean from the Dust Bowl. I mean, think about that. That's from the Midwest blowing out to ships in the Atlantic Ocean. That's pretty incredible. So the world goes through these ebbs and flows, and sometimes they're really traumatic, and a lot of people do die, and it's very saddening. But I think the Earth is that soul cauldron. I really do. I think when you get past certain religious dogma, the only religion that's really thrown the reincarnational stuff out the window was Rome back in the 1st through about the 4th, 5th century. They threw the doctrine of reincarnation out, and it was clearly there before. It certainly exists in many other spiritual texts and secret documents. And I really think Vedic astrology shows who you are, and it shows the soul root. See, like you take you, Joe. They're in Jaimini astrology, which is a very secret branch, and it's hard to learn, of Vedic astrology. There's many branches of it. Your soul root, which means your Atma Karaka, is the moon. So where's your moon? It's in the 10th house. I told you, this is perfect for you. This is a perfect career for you, because you really are about bringing information to the world. It's wonderful. You have the moon in the 10th house of career. Even though, you've endured some hard stuff on the physical side, it also gave you a lot of perspective into the spiritual. And that is your soul root. And see, on the tree of life, they say we reincarnate. They call it the pouch of the slingshot, where when we exit the body known as death, we literally are shot back out into these astral worlds, and then we get reincarnated. Now, some don't. Some people will advance and move on.
Is that what's going on right now?
Well, I think it's always going on and always has been going on.
Well, what I'm saying is like that a lot of people come on the show and they say, look, even other astrologers, we don't have to name them, but they've said,
sure,
hey, there's this divide happening right now. Like there's people that are going to stay in the old earth and this old awareness. And then there's people that are going to move on to, like they're talking about, it's kind of like what Dolores Cannon talked about. It's not really an ascension where there's going to be only gurus and dumb people, not like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But more like there's people that are really going to step into who they are, their power, their spirituality, all this other stuff, and live.
I think that's always happening. And I think it always has been happening. And there's always been crazy people, evil people, nice people, people in between. People are both evil and good, people who are really divine. I think this planet is exceedingly diverse. Vedic astrology has such depth to it. So does Western astrology, tropical as well, to where you can see, what is there, a God in the sky saying, oh, you're going to be born crippled, you're going to be born smart, you're going to be born stupid, you're going to be tall, you're going to be short, you're going to be fat, you're going to be skinny, it's really, there's got to be more going on. And the answers, in my opinion, are we are all product of our spiritual evolution and consciousness. And they actually say there is a court that is above, it's called the Yetziratic world in the ancient texts. And at the top of the Yetziratic world, there's guardian angels that receive the souls from the thrones, which is a very, very high dimension. And you're actually incarnated. Well, you get the seraphs, right? Or phantom, seraphims, cherubims, and thrones. Yeah. That's right. Or phantoms of the wheels. Yeah. So that's very high. That's way above astrology. And a lot of astrologers, and I don't mean to bust on them because there's a lot of good ones, but they all tell us we are our sun signs, right? See, like, you and I talked about that, Joe. When you look at your chart in Western astrology, they're going to tell you you're an Aries, right? Mm-hmm. But in Vedic astrology, your sun's way back in Pisces.
Yeah.
See? So, all that sun sign stuff, people find a little resonance because it does have to do with the lower ego, but it's not us. We are far more than that. I like your new intro too, Joe, on the show.
We're evolving though. That's the thing about it. Like,
we're all evolving. We never stop.
I could totally see me being a Pisces in that earlier time in my life when I was going through all that stuff. But I really feel more like an Aries now, to be honest with you. And here's the thing. I think it's about what you're saying, like it's the evolutionary astrology kind of thing. But my point is just like, we're always initiation or going through the spiritual thing. But there are some times I feel like right now when the transits are like, just really big.
Yeah.
Like
and they're really big right now. This is a powerful time. Jupiter and Saturn will not join again like this for a long time. Jupiter and Saturn join about every 20 years, but you don't just have a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. There's Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto all right together. Plus these Kalasarpa yoga. This Kalasarpa yoga is very, very powerful. Every 18 years, you get the moon's nodes going around the entire zodiac. So if you go back through history, AIDS broke out right during a Kalasarpa Yoga with the lunar mansions in these two toxic mansions. SARS broke out. The JFK was killed. There was pandemics and strange stuff in the 50s. The 1917 pandemic broke out on this. I went back and checked. Even in London, the so-called Black Plague of Europe, which killed lots of people, was the same thing. So these happen throughout history. And if you spend the time to go back and look, every time the moon's north nodes get in these, it brings crises and strange diseases like this, or plagues or pandemics. So this was certainly real. I just think it wasn't as severe, and possibly because they did shut it down, possibly because everybody did isolate. I think it would have ended anyhow right about when it's ending because of what the nodes did. And I think by September 20th, I don't see it coming back for another 18 and a half years. Not like this. That it'll never happen like this again. Not quite like this. So I think, the whole spiritual thing is also happening because of the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. This is going to raise consciousness for a lot of people because technology and the world is just really an easier place to be. I mean, look at life. Like, take my grandmother. She used to tell me they would get up in the morning at 4:30, milk the cows, put the milk on the buckboard, take it down the bouncing dirt road to the steam engine, which would pick it up and bring it into Chicago. There was no homogenization back then. This is 1912, 1914. So there was nothing like that. There was no pasteurization. She said the first car came by the farm. Just think about that. We walk outside, we jump in a car, we jump on the internet, we order it and Amazon delivers it. I mean, life is so much easier now for so many of us than it was even when we were kids. I mean, God, I didn't have a cell phone when I was a kid. Cell phones didn't come around. My kid was the one who broke cell phones.
I had to run down the street to my grandma's house and put my finger in a hole and pull it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, and then someone's always on the phone. Get off the phone,
That's right. We had the party lines. Right? Remember the party lines?
Yeah. Like, I'm calling this girl from school. Y'all get off the phone. And then your parents would embarrass you. It's like, whatever. It doesn't matter. Night Stalker's asking in the Fringe FM chat, does Jeff have any thoughts on what's happening this weekend with the chaos? I missed the beginning. Yeah, we talked about that. What's happening in Minneapolis, the riots, the rocket blowing up on the launch pad. Yeah. I got to tell you, it could accelerate a little bit, but I think they're going to quell it. I really do. What's good is by June 3rd, the insanity should start to settle down a little bit. I don't think the riots are going to go on that far, but I think by June 3rd, that's when Venus retrograde goes into the sun. This is always a kooky time. Strange accidents happen. In fact, I said that to Camille when they were doing the SpaceX the other day, and she said, "Oh, the mission got scrubbed." I said, "Venus retrograde." And I said, "Watch." I said, "If they try it again, some weird stuff." And then today, boom, blows up on the launch pad. So, yeah, this is a strange energy. It always is when Venus has the inferior conjunction. We've seen strange stuff like train wrecks, plane crashes, aviation accidents, a lot of violence or crazy outbreaks. This is the nature of Venus retrograde. It only does the inferior conjunction at certain points throughout the years. Is it true, though, that old-fashioned thing where they say, like, exes try to come back and stuff like that? Like, I got some weird text messages, man. I just, and even... like numbers I don't recognize, I ain't picking them up, though, because if I don't recognize your number, it's a spam caller. Like, is that stuff real, or is that just like fable?
What are you saying?
Like in relationships, like your ex is coming back kind of thing.
What do you mean, the Venus retrograde?
Yes, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, it can do stuff like that. It can. It's a weird time. It really is. And I think the other reason it's a weird time is because it's happening where the moon's north node is in very close association, and that's why. So it's a very, very powerful time. No doubt. I noticed I've been having dreams just like you were saying.
Crazy dreams, right? Yeah.
And that's because Mercury just crossed the node. See, the node is stationing too right now. Yeah, you can microanalyze this stuff. It's very, very powerful. Regal was involved too, which is a fixed star that was very, very powerful. And that's why the last few days, the Venus has been retrograde and Mercury was, all that's associated with fixed stars that are very, very powerful right now. They'll separate pretty fast, but that's why. Yeah, this stuff is profound. The thing we were talking about earlier is I really believe that we'll all keep coming here until we purify and rectify the soul. And then we're all going to move on. I don't believe anyone dies. I really don't. There's way too much evidence that that's not the case.
Well, I don't mind coming back. I like life. As much as people are like, I'm out of here, man. I can't take it no more. I happen to like life a little bit, I'm like
life is
the
not
Cylons
easy
on Babylon, man. Like I like life. I know it's not easy, but I enjoy it. I enjoy all of it. Even
it's a learning. It's a great experience.
Yeah, all of it, man. I mean, like, what are you going to do? You're just going to go up in the sky and just be this blissful piece of light that doesn't experience? You're going to get bored after a while, I'm telling you.
Yeah, there you go. That's what the earth is all about.
Yeah.
The ultimate playground. It's like Shakespeare said, it's the ultimate playground.
Well, speaking of playgrounds, we're going to have to roll out of here. It's the top of the hour. We can't open the phones up. This is not one of those situations where we're going to do like readings on the air. But if you do have a question about astrology, the esoteric spirituality, anything of that nature, you can definitely call in at 1-800-588-0335 to speak to our guest tonight, Jeff Harman. Be right back.
Hi, I'm Alex Exum, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Root on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is V, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, as Leonard Skinner said. I guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root in the show. And I heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new art pal. Thanks for all your shows and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to The Fringe FM.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
Hey Fringe listeners, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, asking you to join us live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM. Visit beyondthestrange.com for links to chat, social media, and schedules of the show. And remember, always stay strange. Hasta.
Somewhere between abnormal and paranormal, there's a show called Into the Paranormal. I'm Jeremy Scott. Hear me live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern on the Fringe FM.
Abnormal News, I'm Brad Bernards. Valkenswaard residents in the Netherlands have been hearing loud, ominous trumpet sounds seemingly coming from the sky. The unnerving phenomenon was recorded on the evenings of December 9th and 10th by Roy Van Zaan, whose Facebook post upload have since generated a great deal of interest and debate. The sounds resemble a sort of low brass trumpet or metallic scraping. However, it is unclear what is producing them or how far away the source might be. While some social media users have likened the sounds to the apocalyptic trumpet calls described in the book of Revelation, others have favored less divine interpretations. One crane operator has suggested that the sounds could be coming from a crane moving in the wind, and it is possible that some other type of industrial machinery could be responsible. As things stand, however, no definitive explanation for the phenomenon has been found. Read the news at paranormalradio.com. I'm Brad Bernards, Abnormal News.
Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS speed rescue. Contact, nice to be in orbit.
The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
And welcome back to Lighting the Void with the top of our second hour here tonight with our guest, Jeff Harman. It's Friday night open lines. You can call in at 1-800-588-0335 if you have a question for our guest tonight. Jeff Harman has been around on Lighting the Void since this thing first I mean, first made its inception. I don't know how long is this? I don't even know how old the show is. I think it's like 4 or 5 years old, to be honest with you. Do you remember our first interviews we did, Jeff? People were all over that, man. I mean, we talked about.
I think that was about 5 years ago, 5 or 6 at least.
Yeah. It seems like it's been that long. Has it been that long?
I think it has. Yeah.
Time's going by quick. I'll be 40 before you know it. Anyway, so like, here's the thing. I think what I want to ask you about is, as an astrologer, when you see things like this coming, how does it help you? We've discussed this a lot, but a lot more people are into astrology now, Jeff. And, I mean, there's a lot of apps, there's a lot of tools, things like that. And I've noticed that people are kind of, how do I say this? They're less apt to just do what they feel now, I guess, because there's so many oracles and things out there now. And it's like, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I feel like it's kind of like you used to say, the weather, right? So let's say, for instance, right now, what do you tell the people that you love the most? You like your family. Do you say, hey, when you go outside, like look both ways twice or something like that? I mean, how do you work?
Oh yeah. I'm always talking to my son because he rides the canyons. He's got a real fast bike that he runs up the stunt road, and he's always out in the Malibu canyons almost every night. And I always tell him when he has malefic transits. And it's interesting too, because he'll say, wow, you're right. He said, I noticed a guy wiped out over here or something. And I'm like, yeah. So if people just follow basic transits, for years, I've pointed that out to Camille. I would show her whenever you see, and anybody could do this, you just watch when the sun conjunct Saturn. That happens once every year. You can also just track lunar aspects alone. I'm working with a number of guys who do remote viewing, and I have for years, different groups. And I had a couple of people actually hire me in ufology as well as in remote viewing. And we have found that fixed stars, certain planets ascending, descending, and lunar aspects absolutely affect how they hit their targets in remote viewing. We've also found a lot of paranormal activity happens to individuals when they have certain transits going on. Really? Like when I met my wife, Camille, constantly. Most of the people who report to me they've had strange paranormal, either abduction or some kind of strange happenings, ghosts, stuff like that. It's more prevalent when Saturn is transiting certain houses in their lives, particularly the 12th, and also Saturn transiting the moon. So there's a lot of, some transits are only once in a lifetime. And the other golden secrets that I always look at is primary directions. Primary directions date back to the Chaldean, Enochian, Egyptian times. And they're so accurate, they blow my mind. I mean, every time. I just lost a dear friend of mine. He was only 67. Two of them. I lost two of my friends. Both of these guys had primary directions spot on to when they passed away. Yeah. I didn't tell them. I did warn them. I did say, watch your health, be careful. And one of my friends, they found him spread eagle in the woods, staring up at the sky. Actually, kind of a blessed way to go because, he didn't die on IVs in a hospital, I just had another friend die at 54 years old. They carved him apart with cancer. So at least my two friends that died, out in the woods, one died in a trailer. He just went to sleep, had a heart attack. It's actually a very blessed way to go. He was in a K2 dasha, but it was very malefic with the progressions he had. And, I often see this where, I have had really tough progressions going on the last year. And it's been so rough for me. And knowing that really changes your life. So when I do readings, I have a whole protocol. It takes me 30, 40 minutes to get ready for any reading. And I write down all the progressions, the transits, the primary directions, the secondaries, and I look at the confluence of that. And that's what I try and do is help people to understand, hey, this is going to be an amazing time. Capture that. Like you and I were just talking on the break, Joe. Yeah. You got a wonderful period coming in next year for you, and an exceedingly strong period. And what I love about Vedic astrology and primary directions, you can never be in the same place twice, ever. ever. And I find, like, you were saying, it's like driving or the weather. If you're driving and you're aware of your conditions, you're looking around and you're seeing everybody coming at you, you're not on the phone, you're much more likely to not have an event that's unpleasant because you're aware and seeing things. Exactly. Astrology is the same way. You're still, it isn't predicting the future. We're all going to get what we're going to get, and everybody gets their specific energies, or you could say transits and progressions, the way they get them. But it's how you react is the real power. That's the golden power. In location astrology, oh my God, that one, I got to tell you, it's so accurate, it's creepy. And I love today's internet sessions that I do. Years ago, people would come to my office and, I'd be showing them on the screen or, with maps on paper. Today, you sit in the comfort of your own home. I got guys pulling over in their Teslas, looking at their iPhones, and I'm recording the whole thing on video. And then they get a video. So you get to see everything, like your transits and your progressions are amazing in location astrology, especially if you live in a place you weren't born. And a lot of us do. And a lot of people aspire to move. And there are places.
Damn it, man. Because I'm on a Saturn line.
Oh, you will. My friend, I guarantee you're going to hit the K2 dasha in 2.5, 3 years. You will move. Guarantee. I had a dear friend of mine and client out of New York. She owns a lot of businesses. And I kept telling her, I says, when you hit the sun dasha, I said, you're going to move. She goes, how could that ever be? I've lived in New York all my life. I don't know how I'm going to move. The day she hit the sun dasha, I picked her up from LAX and she moved to Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Do you know the same thing happened to me? It's so funny. I've been coming out to Los Angeles since the late 70s, early 80s. And I had a house back in the Midwest. And I was always out here doing different projects in the entertainment business. And I always wanted to move here permanently, but I kept being kind of bi-coastal, if you will, or not so much coastal, but Midwest and here. Well, the day I hit my Mercury dasha, the day I hit it in 1997, I permanently moved out here. Got rid of my house, permanently moved out here. And it's so accurate. It's creepy. It's kind of like we all have these tethering forces on us, and they release and change. They actually, in Vedic astrology, they say the planets are known as graha. Graha is a strange word in Sanskrit that actually means seizer or grasper of the aura. And if you get into the more ancient astrology, they actually say they're angelic forces that are specific to each soul. And it's like a fine-tuned, almost standing wave. The time you're born, your energy that you have in your birth chart is the resonance that is how the interaction of the fixed stars in the solar system works on you. And it's different for everyone. I always say, forget Trinity, Neo, and Morpheus. This is the true, real soul matrix. And it really appears to be. And belief's not required. I get all kinds of skeptics that, well, how do you know? And then I'll say, well, okay, I'm not here to convince you of anything. And then they'll call me back, 3 or 2 years or a year later, whatever it was, the chart indicated something was going to happen. And they go, I can't believe it. It's like, yeah, I know. I know. I just had a guy who was, he's a really cool guy. I can't mention any clients. I never divulge information, but this guy was a really intelligent individual. He was doing some very advanced paranormal stuff. And he was trying to get out of a situation he was locked into. And I said, just wait. So when you hit this dasha, it's going to change. He calls me back. He said, I can't believe it. He says, I thought you were crazy. He says, I never believed anything you told me. He says, God, right when it happened, boom, I'm on the other side of the globe doing all these amazing projects and my life has just changed. I said, I know, pal. I've been to that barbecue. And again, belief, I was actually a skeptic of astrology when I first got into it. My mother introduced me to it in the 70s. And I'm like, come on, Ma. I says, this stuff doesn't work, the gravity and all that. I mean, come on, I've heard all the stories. There's no way the planets have any effect. She just laughed and she says, well, before you debunk it, check it out. And I did. And I said, wow, this is a lot more scientific because ancient astrology is really astronomy applied to the soul. It's not everyone. Modern astrology really fell in the sewer. And I don't mean to demean any of the modern astrologers, but they got to check out traditional astrology, or also known as the Egyptian classical medieval stuff and the Greek stuff and the Vedic stuff. It's so amazing. Even the Chinese stuff too is amazing because it's so much more advanced than modern astrology. Modern astrology focuses completely on your sun sign for the most part. Everyone's an Aries, a Libras, or this or that. And it's so trite when you see the accuracy of the ancient stuff because you see the cycles, and everybody is going to have their peaks and their valleys. Everybody gets them. When the progressed moon hits someone's 10th house, you can take it to the bank. Your career is going to go crazy. I've seen it twice in my life, and I'm sure I'll live to see it a third time. I'll be pretty old, but nonetheless, I see these things happen, and it's quite amazing how accurate it is. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
So then you should live by it, basically.
I like to live with it because I think free will. See, and this you just brought up a good point. I have so many folks. And a lot of them work with Tony Robbins, and I've been around people like back in the day. I used to listen to Earl Nightingale and Zig Ziglar, and I've listened to Tony Robbins, and of course I've studied meticulously all of Napoleon Hill's work. And people always say, well, I took all these classes. How come I'm not successful? I spent thousands of dollars. I was just in a conversation with a doctor the other day who had done all these classes, done all this stuff, and he says, and yet I'm not getting where I want to get. And I said, wait till you get right here. I said, this date and time, which is coming right up for him. It's literally in months. I said, call me back in about 6 months and tell me that all that stuff you learned now can actually be put into action. It's like trying to surf on the ocean when there's no waves. If you can be the best surfer in the world, you paddle out there. If it's a calm day, sorry, got no waves, you're not surfing. See, so if you know when the waves are coming, then you take your surfboard out. So it's really good to study self-help stuff and all these things that people do to get their skill sets, whether it's, regular college or if they learn it through just apprenticeships and work. Either way, having skills is critical. But boy, it's nice to know when your ship's really coming in, or better yet, when your ship's heading out of the harbor and going out to sea, because that's the difference right there. If you know your phases, like here's a good example. I had this really nasty progression going on up until just about 3 weeks ago. I was very careful. I wasn't riding my motorcycle much because I knew, if I pushed it, I could wipe out and have those are really malefic progressions. And again, you operate differently when you're aware. So even the bad times can have their virtue. I also got to study a lot of really great esoteric, documents that I've been wanting to delve into. And I did a lot of really in-depth readings with people. So everything is just energy. It's how do you understand the best way to utilize it? That's the key.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out, honestly, because there's a lot of things that I want to do in my life. Like if you take, I want to talk about the nodes again, right? So in Western astrology, I have a south node, and I'll just use my example so maybe it'll help other people. Like I have a south node that's in Capricorn, but a north node that's in Cancer. And it's almost like I read these things that talk about it, say, well, you've been on top before, you're used to all this stuff, but now, you want family and home, and you're going to learn a bunch of karmic lessons. It's like, what? Can't we dodge the karmic lessons, please? Like, come on, man. Like I get it in my heart that that's what I want, but why all the crap to get there? Is it really about like past life stuff,
Well, a lot of times the nodes definitely deal with past life stuff. See, you got Mars and Saturn in the ascendant. And so that's always been an issue for you. But the older you get, the better it'll get. See, you're going to hit K2 for 7 years right around the corner. You got 2 years away, 2.5 years away. You've also got a Jaimini Shara Dasha that's kicking in here next April. That could really make a shift in terms of relationships for you, not only personal, but also business-wise. That are really
cool.
good. And that kicks in for you from 34 to 39. See, Gemini astrology is the sidereal zodiac is very, very mysterious. When you think about it, there's a lunar zodiac that surrounds the Earth, between the Earth and the moon. And I always joke around with astronomers. I don't care how much they polish the lenses on their telescopes. They're never going to see that one either. This is a spiritual construct. And to prove that, scientifically is not easy. Well, how you do prove it is in Vedic astrology. Literally, I have seen people rise and fall when they hit certain, what we call shara doshas, and also certain doshas, which are time. Doshas are all time units in Sanskrit. And there's no explanation for it. I've talked to people in psychiatry, psychology, and different walks of business, and there's no logical explanation for it other than that. And if science wants proof, like Claude Swanson and I have had these discussions, there are things hard science is never going to be able to explain. It's just like, there's this big debate. Is there a soul? And people are weighing people when they die and versus they're alive. I mean, come on. There's a little better way to do it than that. Everyone's looking at the physical, three-dimensional world. You can't do that. But what's interesting is the Vedic astrology really seems to show the physical, three-dimensional world's actions. Look at this COVID-19. I mean, I on my Facebook the other day, I literally said, like clockwork, this thing came in like clockwork. It's now leaving like clockwork. Will it be totally gone? I think the remnants of the fear and the social distancing is going to be there. And you'll see a few people with masks for a while. But I think it's going to go bye-bye. I really do. And I think as the summer wears on, people are just fed up. They're not going to deal with it anymore. They want to get back to work. They want to get their lives back online.
Right.
They're not going to sit here and fear, like you're saying. Everyone's fed up, and that energy's really kicked in the last few days. Everyone's like, raw, I want to get out of the cage. And you know what? They will. And that's what the astrology said. I posted it 2 days ago. I said, like clockwork, we're going to see it all melt away and go forward. I really don't think it's coming back.
Just getting out of the damn house feels good to me. Honestly, like just going.
Well, summertime too.
Yeah,
the summer solstice makes you feel like that. But the astrology showed it like clockwork. Watch, the sun will cross the node here, coming right up in the latter part of June. That's it. I mean, people will. They're going to get on with their lives. They really will. It's. I don't care what Lord Commander Fauci says anymore. I don't think it's going to have any impact.
Lord Commander Fauci. You want to know something weird? The last
Sorry, I blew up.
You don't know the last show we did, that end of the show when you started talking about the weird stuff going on in politics. I don't miss a lot of audio with shows hardly ever, but that thing got cut off like the last 30 seconds when you were talking about the weird stuff that was happening with the elections and everything. And it just got cut completely off, the recording, everything. It was strange, man. I'm also tired of this Twilight Zone. I love the Twilight Zone, and Alfred Hitchcock and all that. I love it, but I'm damn tired of living in it right now. I feel like I'm living in it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You bet. We have been. If people get in touch with themselves, like I know I did not have COVID. I never had any fevers, never had any COVID symptoms, all that. I've had some really weird feelings during this Kalasarpa yoga, and a lot of people I talk to have. And they said, well, I didn't have a fever. I wasn't sick like that. No, neither was I. But these energies that the moon's north and south node were in ever since last October forward, actually came in the late fall. But this was one of the strangest winters and early springs I think I can remember. It was really pretty wacky, not only because of the pandemic, but just energetically. If you just got in touch with how you felt, it was strange. And I know a lot of these guys in the upper echelons, they're very familiar with astrology. If they were ever going to pull something like this would have been the perfect time to do it. Perfect time to do it.
So you think that the higher ups are actually looking at these transits?
Oh, they always have. Are you kidding? Come on, man. The secret societies. George Washington was, wearing a Masonic apron when he laid the cornerstone of the foundation of the Egyptian temple called the capital of the United States. I mean, Washington, D.C. is the District of Columbia. It's was laid out by a Masonic architect out of France. It is an Egyptian temple almost, not exactly, but it is. It's literally laid out with very sacred geometry.
Well, I had to ask. That was kind of a rhetorical question, wasn't it? But I had to ask.
The leaders of this world have been stooped in occult knowledge forever. The kings and queens have been forever. And, the only one downplaying it has been, I think, Rome.
Isn't
and other sects of religions. Yeah, it is kind of interesting.
Well, I'm just amazed at, honestly, how accurate it is. Like the more, and I'm just studying Western astrology, Jeff. I got to be honest with you. And the more I study the stuff, the more crazy accurate it is. And
it is. Yeah, it really is.
It's confusing to us that are new to this. And I know that you get it, but a lot of the newbies in astrology don't. They're like, how can the Western and the Eastern work? I still am perplexed about that.
Yeah, well, they do. And that is the mysteries of the sidereal and the tropical zodiac. See, the problem with modern astrology is, and they'll argue with you, they all think Pisces rules Neptune and Aquarius rules Uranus and Pluto rules Scorpio. You can't do that in traditional astrology. And the reason why...
Traditional 7 planets, right?
Right. And the reason why the Egyptian essential dignities, or I don't know if they're so Egyptian, but they may be older than that.
Yeah.
Literally, you lose the essences of that. And there's great secrets in how you read that. And you can't do that. Now, modern astrology does do that. And you can do whatever you want. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. But you lose a significant depth of the astrology by doing that. And Vedic astrology does not use Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. They don't even turn them on. I find Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto are very accurate, especially in location astrology, and they're certainly very, very accurate in transits and aspects to the natal charts. But they don't rule anything. They certainly have effect. They just don't rule anything.
Like so they say, Scorpio's ruled by Pluto. You're saying that's kind of, you don't see that.
Well, you can't do that in traditional astrology because you'll break all the dignities. All that what they call the bounds and the terms are completely lost. See, everything is in ancient astrology, and they're right about this, is premised on the sun, the moon, and the cross. See, the sun is the seed. In fact, many ancient texts referred that the reason the suns are so bright is not only why the scientists say nuclear fission. In fact, some of them say it's electrical, if you've ever heard of the electrical universe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They say the suns are so bright because they're actually portals to the upper dimensions, the upper divine dimensions. Just like ascended masters, if they let their auras out, they're so bright you can't see. So the sun is so bright because they say not only does it have the energy that it has, but it's a portal. So the sun is the seed of creation. The moon is the crucible. And it doesn't take long to study the enigmas of the moon. I mean, NASA's bouncing rocket fuselages off it. Some people say there's weird materials on there and shapes and all that. I've seen stuff coming in out of the moon with high-powered telescopes and cameras that is inexplicable. It's pretty bizarre. And you can call them UFOs, you can call them angels, you can call them entities, you can call them whatever you want, but something's coming in and out of there in a lot of other places pretty damn fast. And the occult phenomena that's going on with the moon is pretty astounding. And they say the soul passes through the sphere in the astral sense of the moon right before it's tied to the body at first breath. And what's interesting is this: if you take the zodiac, if you take Leo and you take Cancer, which are the two rulers of the lights, the sun for the day and the moon for the night, all the other planets are daytime, nighttime, daytime, nighttime, daytime, nighttime. So you have Libra is the daytime ruler of Libra. The nighttime ruler is Cancer. You see? And Mercury, the alchemical messenger, surrounds the two lights with Virgo and Gemini. Mars, Scorpio, squares the fire sign of the sun, and that's water squaring fire. So that's where the contention comes from, squares. And Aries squares the moon. The fire sign of Aries squares the water sign of the moon. And then Jupiter at night is ruled by Pisces, and daytime sign of the fire sign of Sagittarius trines the sun, and Pisces trines the moon. And the two rulers of Saturn, Capricorn rules Saturn at night, and it opposes the moon, and Aquarius rules Saturn during the day and opposes the sun. That's why it's the enemy of the lights, Saturn is. Or you could say it's also a lot of the esoterics say it's the storehouse of the egos of the souls, reflecting back upon the divinity of creation. So the ego of humanity is here to kind of have its, you could say, play on the playground of Earth until it rises above that in consciousness, and then we escape from Alcatraz through Saturn into the upper realms.
Interesting.
So there's a lot. Yeah, it's a whole nother philosophy, because see, that's why I think Vedic astrology is right. It's not saying, oh, you're a Pisces and Aries and all that. No, it's saying you're a soul here that is going to keep getting the karmic lessons until you ascend. All your great masters tell you the trick is to rise above astrology, escape from Alcatraz.
Yeah.
And that's why and that's what we all want to do. Everybody I talk to, including myself, is like, well, what am I doing here in this little situation of karma, or this gridlock of this, that, or what have you? And we all have it. We all have it. And it's interesting how accurate the astrology shows when that happens and when it doesn't, and when it releases. So it's all about lessons. And when we exit the body known as death, you're outside of time. And they say the astral realms, time is much, much slower for not in all of them, but most of them, than Earth. Earth is very fast, even though we think it's slow. They say minutes here could be literally days there. I've even heard some dimensions where, days could be a year there.
Wow. Well, yeah. Listen, we're against our last break here. That is some fascinating stuff. Now's the time to get your questions in. You can put them in the Fringe FM chat or call in at 1-800-588-0335. We'll be right back with Jeff Harman.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
This is Malorcas45, fan of the Fringe FM, challenging everyone to open their mind's eye. Listen to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop to gain precision for your third eye vision.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of the Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Fringe FM. See you then.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a void walker.
Hey, Joe Root. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a void walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a void walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, aka Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
Ever seen an extraterrestrial? It can be hard to believe they exist unless you've seen one for yourself. What if I told you I've seen them my whole life, but have never had a witness who shared the encounter with me? Now, what if I told you I saw 4 of them, 2 with blue skin, and there are over 20 witnesses to this CE5 event? My new book, The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, documents actual accounts from real witnesses, many of which have gone on record to attest to this otherworldly reality. Be a part of the quantum paradigm shift that is taking place right now. Go to johnpolkmedia.com to get your copy of The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, on sale right now at johnpolkmedia.com. That's JOHNPOLK media.com.
Listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
Man, you know, I'm kind of sentimental today, to be honest with you, because I just, you know, during the break, I started thinking about how long this show's been around and how much it's grown since the beginning. And yeah, Jeff, I mean, you were there in the beginning, man, like in the very beginning. It was one of those situations. So can I just brag on you a minute, if you don't mind? Is that okay? I mean, hell, I hope I didn't.
Yeah, sure, but don't make it too sappy.
It ain't gonna be too sappy. But it was one of the first shows where I realized why I got into it. If you guys go I'm talking about way back in the archives, when we first started talking, you were the person that like got me when it came to astrology. You were like, man, you need to get this text, the Sefer Bahir, the Sefer Yetzirah, all of these old texts, introduced me to Daskalos, and that set me on my path to where I am today. That's about as sappy as I'm going to get with you, man. I'm just letting you know.
That'll work. Thanks. Well, thanks, Joe.
Did you think I was going to start weeping or something like on the air?
No, I was just being a clown. Yeah. But No, in all seriousness, well, thank you. That's a very nice compliment. But, you know, I got to say, Joe, the more I learn, the less I know. Well,
you know,
and
the
more
charts,
humble.
you always say it. It's the charts.
Yeah.
Anytime someone says it's Jeff, you're like, nah, it's the charts. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that people tend to deify you. And that's one thing I always tell people not to do. You know, like there's so many spiritual healers and psychics and astrologers that people deify. And I always try and push people away from that. It's like, no, look more at this is information. You're still at the helm, you know, because I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm telling someone what to do. I'll tell them what the chart is and what it says. And interestingly enough, it's usually right, but still we are senior to that. I showed you that diagram, Joe, that our souls are created hundreds and hundreds of dimensions above the firmament known as the heavens, or you could say the rotating galaxies, let alone this solar system. So we're so blocked from that. And that's one of the things I do blame the religions, and maybe more than the religions, the evil forces that are permeated on this planet. And if people study books like the text of Enoch, you'll see it refers in there to the Watchers and the Nephilim and the evil spirits. And boy, I'll tell you what, the smartest thing they ever did was convince us they didn't exist. And
I don't know why they don't put that in the regular canon either, because Enoch is referenced in the canon a million times, but they don't put the book in the canon. Why?
Oh, well, there's overwhelming evidence. The whole New Testament writers were referencing it. Paul referenced it. I mean, and Enoch, see, that's the problem with the books of Enoch. They're very mysterious because there's several versions. You have the Slavonic version. You also have the Ethiopic version and the Hebrew version. Mm-hmm. The only reason the Ethiopic was found is because they hid it from the church, because they were prosecuting everyone from having it around, because it disputes certain things that the church was putting out. Well, what's interesting, and this doesn't refute Christianity at all, or Judaism, or any other religion. It actually kind of supports it. But if you go back and you look at this stuff, they rewrote a lot of these versions somewhere between the 1st and the 4th century. There's a Hebrew version. A very knowledgeable rabbi wrote that around the 1st century. See, most of this stuff was lost and transmitted verbally, and then someone concretizes it, you know, because you think about what it took back, 2,000 years ago to write something down. I mean, you didn't go to Staples and grab a piece of paper. Most people didn't know how to read and write. And if they did, they didn't have the instruments or the foundation to do it unless they were in an infrastructure where that could happen. You didn't photocopy things. You wrote them out, and that was it. If you wanted to copy it, somebody stood there and read it and wrote it on his parallel piece of paper. I mean, Thomas Jefferson, I went to Thomas Jefferson's house, and it really struck me. Here's the president of the United States 200 years ago. And he literally had a machine with 2 pencils. So when he wrote, he could put 2 pieces of paper down and it would duplicate what he wrote as he wrote it. I'm going, wow. And here we sit with, I've got TurboScan in my iPhone that I use all the time. And, a copier sitting right next to me, a couple of them. And it's like, wow. I mean, our worlds are so different. And you look at these ancient texts, it's amazing. Half of what got put down ever got put down, Well,
it is. And that's another reason why I respect what you do, is because when it comes to everything in the traditional sense, I would say medieval, Renaissance, Western sense, I'm drawn to. But I'm also drawn to the Eastern stuff, the gems, all of that. But I can see where things get a little bit, where the water gets muddied a little bit. And a lot of people, a lot of people say, well, man, it's modern. We're making things better and stuff. But are we really? I mean, are we really making things better? Or are we getting away from the real mystery of things? Because I don't believe that Christ or the Essenes or anything like Daskal has talked about really covered up the mysteries as much as they're trying to make us think they did. I think religion covered up the mysteries. That's what I think.
Oh, there's no question. The bearded men who were murdering each other to decide what everybody would believe for the next 1,500 years. Oh, I mean, you look at the hideous stuff they did. Do you know that the city of Worms in Germany has a really strange history to it, if you want to look into that. One of my favorite mystics was Rabbi Maharil. His grave is still there. He is the guy who wrote the text, The Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
He penned and the real translations were the Goth translations. He actually says any human being of any race, any creed, any culture can have their guardian angel come to them if they purify the lower conscious mind known as the nefesh.
Yep.
But the problem is where we live, we are inundated with so much information, so much ego, so much stuff. We got so much white noise going on in our auric fields. We're always creating elementals that are keeping us from it. The Greeks used, the gremlins, and the Greeks used to call it amphithereon. They said the angels say we are so busy with what we think we know that they can't even get to us.
That's
too much white noise.
Man, that's a big statement right there. We're so busy with what we think we know, they can't get to us.
Yeah, and that's true. They say any human being, you know, and it seems to be that way in all areas. It's interesting. Back in the 80s, I was teaching a class at Riverbank Acoustics Laboratory. That's where Wallace Clements Sabin had, he's the guy who designed Carnegie Hall. Really famous physicist, and he was amazing. I never met him. He was dead before I met him, but amazing the stuff he taught. And it was in Batavia, Illinois, built by a colonel in the Civil War. And long story short, they were talking about not only consciousness, but you know that the human eye and the human ear, if you throw a human being in a completely dark anechoic chamber or cave, you have chemicals in your eyes that are able to see in zero light, and that's hard to believe, but you'll actually start to see in no light at all. And they say because the eye has the capability of seeing almost at the molecular level, the ear is the same way. They've done tests where you put people in anechoic chambers, and after so many hours, they could hear like kerbunk, kerbunk. And it was the atoms or the molecules bouncing up against the eardrum. So you literally have and the consciousness is the same way. It's like we are so much more divine. And what forces are keeping? We think it's the news. We think it's the media. We think it's the world. We think it's, whatever. But if we really step back and look at it, I say the Screw Tape Letters is right. If you've ever read the Screw Tape Letters, that's a little book by C.S. Lewis. It's about the demons who are constantly trying to screw with us. Not that, we aren't responsible with our own egos for our own issues too, but there are forces trying to keep humanity suppressed and literally destroy it. And thank God, literally, that the upper forces don't allow that to happen.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And I really understood that when I got into the Dosklos material that you had me go on to. Let's take this call from, it looks like the Massachusetts area, 978 area code real quick. You're on the air with Jeff Harman. Who are you speaking with?
Hey, Joe. Hey, Jeff. It's a nice talker.
Hey, what's
really
up,
great
brother?
show so far. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
I got a really quick string of synchronicities for you guys, just because Jeff is talking about these dark forces and stuff.
All right.
So, kind of my favorite thing in the paranormal conspiracy field is these strings of how these synchronicities kind of seem to permeate throughout all aspects of the zeitgeist. So I kind of just tend to search keywords and see what pops up.
Okay.
So during this Minneapolis thing, I'll be real quick. Sorry.
That's all right.
During this Minneapolis thing, the new moon just came into Gemini on the 21st, and then Gemini's the twins, obviously. And Minneapolis, St. Paul is the twin cities. So I saw that, and I was like, oh wow. And they're locked down still. They're the nexus point of all this kind of stuff. So I searched twin to see what kind of headlines were out in the last 3 or 4 days. So these are all within the past weekend, since the 26th, 27th. People Magazine, Steven Jackson, the NBA player, emotionally opens up about the killing of his, quote, twin, George Floyd, because they look exactly alike. And that article's going around like crazy. Every site's taking that. Another new, the AP says Trump honors fallen soldiers on Memorial Day in twin events. The Newsweek says North Korea to bolster nuclear forces as Iran busts Venezuela sanctions in twin tests for Trump, all in quotes. Seattle Times says British billionaire twins at war over London's Ritz Hotel and family fortune. These are all within the last 3 days. And even surgeon known for separating conjoined twins was early coronavirus victim, which happened early but published within the last few days. Twins born to intubated mom with COVID-19, discharged from hospital. And then it's pretty crazy. And then another sports one. And then the Kardashians, like them, love them or hate them, they're the biggest celebrities on the planet. And they just started. There's a New York Post. Who is Kirby Jenner? Meet Kendall Jenner's big secret twin, in quotes, because they're doing this new reality show based on this prank about they have a new lost Kardashian twin. When I saw all that stuff like kind of merging together, and like,
I got you.
I don't know if it's a ritual.
The Night Stalker hits like again, right? Out. Yeah, I know what you're getting at. Let me.
Yeah, it's interesting he brought that up because Venus retrograde right now, the inferior conjunction of Venus. Guess where it is? It's in Gemini. Guess what it's going to do? Conjunct the Sun in Gemini on June 3rd.
But do you think that some of these people play? Like there's conspiracies that go around and say, well, these people know of these, like we were talking about transits and conjunctions, all this stuff, and they do this stuff on purpose in the Twin Cities, or they talk about, I mean, is it the energy? Is it people messing with
I think it's synchronicity. I think it's synchronicities. I really do. I think the more you look at the heavens, in the Psalms, I've always been enamored with the Psalms because there's great secrets in the Psalms.
Right.
There's actually cryptographic angelic names that are embedded in the Hebrew and the Aramaic. You can't get it in English. That, in fact, the religions took that out. They smacked the Psalms in between the New and the Old Testament. Well, if you go look at a text called the Shemush Tehillim, it actually has the key code ciphers that are in there. And it says right in there, the heavens declare, they're silent. You just go read Psalm 19 sometime. It actually says it. So this crap that astrology is the work of the devil and all this, really? Well, why does the Pope take a bath in a bathtub surrounded by the Zodiac? There's more occult, literature in the bottom of the Vatican than anywhere on the planet. And the Psalms themselves actually declare it. It's amazing. So is the Shem Phorish and Exodus.
Thank you for your call, Night Stalker. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, so he does kind of like news and research for the Fringe FM. Thanks, brother. Really appreciate it. He does it actually for himself, but that is something weird because there's a lot of people. I mean, people do entire radio shows about that stuff. You realize that, right?
There's numerology like that. That's astounding. You see how numerology shows up through the astrology as well. It's bizarre. And synchronicities often happen, just like he was just saying, that are inexplicable.
Yeah. And I wonder sometimes do people use it to their advantage? Like to do these things? I mean, because that's I'm not trying to be all Alex Jones like, but do they? I mean, Super Bowl, if you look at the Super Bowl stuff, what happens?
Well, there's all kinds of cryptology when you look into things. Look at Q. There's all kinds of cryptology and all kinds of things out there. In fact, they say a lot of cartoons and Hollywood has had it embedded all over the place. A lot of times, did you know that the Chinese Olympics had this strange, if you remember, they had this strange thing with all these hospital beds and people wearing masks. Do you remember seeing that at the last Chinese Olympics?
Yes.
And what did we just have happen? And where did it come from?
Yeah, it's weird, right? It is pretty strange.
So what he just said really resonated. Yeah, it's very. We're living in a matrix. I always say, forget Trinity, Neo, and Morpheus. I think when we look at the one we're in, it's pretty astounding.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty crazy and it's pretty astounding. And it's another reason why I like life. I like the mysteries, even though the stuff's crazy and hard and weird. It unveils things to us, it opens the doors. It shows things to us. And once again, having you on the show, we're doing that again. And I hope that your predictions are right. I hope that this is going to end. We might see a little bit of like a showing again, but I hope for the most part it's over.
I hope the astrology is right. It usually is. I think we're going to see this COVID-19 melt away. I think it's going to leave an indelible effect on society. Everyone's still going to have that worry and there's going to be the social distancing for a while, but I think it's going to go bye-bye. I really do. And another thing I've heard from many doctors is this hydroxychloroquine is real, and yet they've been downplaying that. I know Trump's been on hydroxychloroquine and zinc and something else. And I know a lot of doctors who've said the same thing. This is not my opinion. I'm not making a medical statement here. I don't want to get a lawsuit.
Sure.
But I've heard many doctors, because I have a lot of clients that are doctors, and they're really smart guys. I mean, they know science. They do blood work. They are very advanced at some of this stuff. And they're saying, hey, this is definitely for real. And for anyone to say that it's not, that's disinformation. So, and this is exactly the kind of stuff that goes on around Saturn, Pluto conjunctions, Venus retrograde. This is manipulation city here. You got to really watch where I think we get our information from.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you on that, Jeff. And this time I do want to roll out of here and end this properly. You tell everybody real quick before you get out of here how they can find you, how they can get your services. We got a couple of minutes. Please, by all means, man, plug away. It's totally worth it.
Oh, okay. Well, the best way to get me is jeff@jeffharman.com. And that's HARMAN.com, jeff@jeffharman.com. And I'm really lucky. My wife is amazing dealing with people and scheduling. So it's great. I love doing readings today because with the video recording online, it's just amazing. I mean, never before in history can you get this kind of quality and this kind of visual clarity of everything I'm showing. Like when I show people maps and their charts and their cycles, everybody's like, wow, that was cool because I got it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you learn a lot about astrology too when you get lessons, or I should say sessions like that. You know, get a reading. It really helps a lot. And you start to understand your cycles. And I'm always trying to point out, you know, we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. We're not our astrology. It influences the future. It doesn't predict it. What it does do is it helps us maybe shape it to a much better way than it would have been had we not known about it.
Absolutely. Jeff, thank you for coming on. Well said. And thank you for coming on the program again. I really appreciate it, man.
Oh, man, you bet. Thanks for having me, Joe. I always love coming on.
Guys, have a good weekend. Stay tuned for the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. Big shout out to Pacho, all of the team at the Fringe FM, the guys in the Fringe FM chat, the guys and gals, my patrons for lighting the void. I love you. All right. Stay tuned for stuff coming in the patron boxes. Join up. You guys have a good week, and we'll see you in the chats. Good night.
On this program do not necessarily reflect those of the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting, its sponsors, affiliates, or staff. Listener discretion is advised.